Yo, what's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Down by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we got a big-time J.McCarthy update coming your way on today's show, as it's looking like number 9 will officially be making his return as QB1 for this Vikings offense. And then later on today's show, I do want to recap what happened in the NFC North this past weekend. The Green Bay Packers got a big-time win over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football, but the Bears, a lot of concerns about their offense and Caleb Williams. I want to give you guys my thoughts on all 4 of these teams, including the Minnesota Vikings. But the biggest storyline today, J.McCarthy. He should be back. He should be back this week against the Detroit Lions. And if he's not, then we'll have a lot of issues here. But if you guys want to show him some love, type those 9s down below in the comments section. I want to see over 500 comments on today's show. Just spamming those 9s because there's a lot of pressure on this kid, and we'll talk about it on today's show. But if you guys could, give me those 9s down below. Now, like I was kind of saying, if J.J. McCarthy, for some reason, doesn't play Sunday, we officially have major issues. And then there is officially, some credibility around the people who are saying, oh, this was a soft benching. The Vikings don't trust him. They would rather play Carson Wentz over J.J. McCarthy, even if J.J. is 100% healthy. So I fully expect him to be out there. But if he is not, then we have some major, major issues around Kevin O'Connell, around J.J. McCarthy, around this whole football team if number 9 is not out there. But Kevin O'Connell did have this to say before the Chargers game on talking about where J.J. McCarthy was at, saying, I know there were a lot of estimates on what the injury timeline and everything with a high ankle sprain. It ended up being on the longer end, but about what we thought it would be. He would get in some work, got some work today, talking about on last Thursday, and will hopefully get some work throughout the early part of the week, which will lead him into a full week of preparation and feel positive about him. Now, I'm not saying this is the right or wrong decision here, but clearly the Vikings played it very, very safe with J.J. McCarthy because they understand 22-year-old kid missed his whole rookie season with a torn meniscus. They wanted to make sure he was 110% healthy, and also the preparation aspect of it. They weren't just going to throw him into the wolves against the Los Angeles Chargers defense, who had a great game last Thursday night. They want him to get a full week of preparation, which now he'll get 10 days before that Detroit Lions game. And this is going to be a massive spot for JJ. So obviously the Vikings played this incredibly safe. I do agree with the move there because let's just say you would have went out there, re-aggravated that ankle, because the ankle sprain, it's kind of like a rubber band where if you guys keep on pulling on a rubber band, then it becomes flimsy. But if you just fully break your ankle, or if you fully break a rubber band, then you obviously get a new rubber band in there. But the Vikings just want to play this safe, and I thought that was the right call. And the soft benching narrative, I think it was completely put to bed with how bad Wentz has looked over the last couple of weeks. If you truly think at the bottom of your heart that the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell would rather roll out Carson Wentz compared to J.J. McCarthy, you are out of your damn mind. Now, I already had people even in the Chat Sports studios back, when is J.J. coming back? What's going on there? I actually believe, KOC, it's an injury. Clearly the Vikings did not have faith in him on that ankle heading into that week against the Chargers, or obviously coming off that bye against the Eagles. They wanted to give him those 10 days before the Detroit Lions game. But again, if he doesn't play against the Lions, then that soft benching narrative, okay, then it finally has some legs to it. But I think if he does play week 9, then it was officially all right, J.J. McCarthy's high ankle sprain was a lot more serious than we initially thought. But Kevin O'Connell, after the Chargers game, did have this saying, if J.J.'s healthy, J.J. will play. That's been the case since the injury. So obviously this is good news. Now, also KOC kind of hinted that if the Chargers game was on Sunday, he would have a good chance to go, because then you get that full week of preparation, also just a couple more days to rehab that ankle injury. So KOC saying it, if JJ's healthy, he will play. I'll just have to take his word for it. But there's no doubt there's a lot of pressure on number 9. And not only pressure on himself to obviously perform, live up to that hype of being the number 10 overall pick back in 2024, but also pressure on the coaching staff. Kevin O'Connell, I'm not saying his job is on the line with J.J. McCarthy, because I think no matter what, they would give KOC till the end of next year before they even consider letting him go. But the main pressure for J.J. actually goes to the GM, adofo-mensah. His drafts have been horrible. His 2 first-round picks in 2024, one of them, J.J. McCarthy has barely played, and the other one, Dallas Turner, he does not look like a first-round pick. So there's a lot of pressure on number 9, not just within himself, but for the whole organization, and plus his teammates on top of that. And the rest of the season, you got to find out if JJ's the guy, because we could be heading in the next offseason. We're like, oh, snap, we don't have a franchise quarterback. This roster, it's old, it's injury riddled, and there is not a whole lot to kind of go off of but you need to figure out if J.J. McCarthy is the guy. And I will say, I don't think 12 games is enough because he played the first two, and now hopefully he gets the rest of the season, which is 10 games. Are you going to make a whole evaluation on the decision if this guy is the franchise quarterback by just off 12 games, considering the injuries he's had, considering even him just having a kid before that Falcons game? Like, I don't think that's enough time. Like, I think we would have a good answer on JJ, not at the end of this season, but probably by Thanksgiving next season, we'll truly know how special or how not special JJ McCarthy is. And we have seen flashes of greatness. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, that fourth quarter against the Bears, it was truly a historic game. Like, he was throwing the ball at a high level. He was using his legs. So we've seen the flashes. We have seen the arm talent. We have seen the mobility. But also on the other end of the spectrum, like, the bad has been really bad. Like, that Falcons game was just flat out horrible. Now, you can make the excuses. Didn't have, too much help from his offensive line. Didn't have Jordan Addison. He only had to practice one game that week. He only practiced one day that week leading up to that game. So the bad has definitely been bad, but we've also seen flashes. So if he can just show flashes, even if the Vikings, win 3-4 games the rest of the season, if he just shows enough where it's like, all right, there is something in there. There is some greatness in there, then that's something to build off of. But I'll ask you guys this. Where do you stand on J.J. McCarthy? Do you have faith in him? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I got faith in the kid, and I'm very, very, very excited to watch him play this weekend, and you guys should be as well, because even though we're 3-4, not looking good, at least we get to watch a young quarterback develop, which is one of the, even though we'll have some ups and downs, in my opinion, I think it's one of the more enjoyable fan experiences in the NFL. So where do you guys stand? Do you have faith in J.J. McCarthy? Y for yes or N for no. Now we'll take a look at the NFC North, and I'll give you guys my thoughts there here in a second. I'll also talk about the Vikings-Lions matchup just very, very briefly. But before we do so, today's episode is brought to you guys by PrizePicks. Now, you and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And if you guys download the PrizePicks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS. We'll hook you all up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks. I mean, you can pick up to the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on J.J. McCarthy's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. And you guys can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, celebrity, or just someone whose picks you like, hit that follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new Feed tab on PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in that promo code CLNS, and we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But a big-time shout-out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. That link for you guys will be in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, some quick thoughts on the Vikings-Lions game, and pretty much the Lions just fucking own us. The Lions have been the Vikings' dad over the last couple of seasons, and the Vikings, fun fact, haven't won in Detroit since 2020 when Alexander Mattison had a big-time game. And they're actually 1-6 in their last 7 games against the Lions, and they are currently on a 5-game losing streak to Detroit. Now, KOC has religiously talked about, we got to be a more physical team. We got to be a more physical team. The Vikings have been one of the softest teams in the NFL under Kevin O'Connell. Well, the Lions are one of the most physical teams in the league. They're great in the trenches on both sides of football. They like to get downhill, establish the run, and just beat the crap out of you throughout a long 4 quarters. And that's why this is a brutal matchup for the Vikings. Like, the Lions have their number. Jared Goff has Brian Flores' number. It doesn't matter if it's Ben Johnson, me, or producer Dylan calling the shots offensively. They will be successful offensively against this Flores defense just because Goff, one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz, and he's just felt comfortable going against that scheme throughout the last 3 seasons. Now, let's dive into the NFC North. Back in Week 8, the Lions are obviously on a bye week, so they're going to have extended rest being at home going against the Vikings, which is just brutal blow. But the Packers got a big-time win last night against the Steelers, winning 35-25. The Bears had a brutal loss going against Tyler Huntley and the Ravens in Baltimore. They lost 30-16. And then our good old Minnesota Vikings got their ass handed to them last Thursday night against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, again, I don't think this is a polarizing take at all. You guys are probably all thinking the same thing. But it is clear the Packers and Lions have separated. And not only separated in the NFC North, I think they've separated in the NFC. I think these are the 2 best teams in the conference. I would not be shocked if this is the NFC title game. Both these teams are fantastic on both sides of the ball. Jordan Love looked amazing last night, throwing for 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. And the Lions, I mean, when they get going, they are one of the better teams in the entire NFL. So I think these two guys, or these two teams, should be the favorite in the NFC, and they are, according to the odd makers and the bookmakers out west. So it's just unfortunate. Another year where the Vikings are dealing with these two teams in the division. He's still got 4 games against both these teams, so it's going to be an uphill battle, no doubt about it. Now on the Bears front, I guess this is good news for Vikings fans. Caleb Williams has a long way to go. Now, Caleb Williams will randomly show flashes. He even did against the Baltimore Ravens yesterday, but this guy just can't complete the simple stuff. Like, he can't throw 5-yard outs now. He's incredibly inaccurate. Like, his completion percentage in the first quarter during the scripted plays is 71%. From quarters 2 through 4, it's 58%. So when Ben Johnson can scheme it up, he can get him some easy looks, like he can be a productive quarterback. But outside of that first quarter, like, he's just not a good football player. So he is a long way to go. I'm not, going to declare him a bust, but as it stands right now, I mean, Bears fans, some of them are calling for Tyson Bagent. People are saying there are 30 other quarterbacks in the NFL that could have won that game for the Bears yesterday. So he hasn't been good. But I do want to get back to this and kind of connect it back into the whole NFC North. At the end of the day in the NFL, if you don't have these 3, you're not going to be a competitive team. So the Vikings the rest of the season, you got to find out. 1, is Kevin O'Connell truly, the head coach of the future? Which I can't believe I'm asking that right now, considering the year we are coming off of. But his seat, just a little warm. The quarterback, you got to find out if you have one in J.J. McCarthy. And I already think we have the answer to this one. The GM, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. I don't know how you could possibly let him run another draft, especially if the Vikings somehow land a top 12 pick. Like, I would not feel comfortable giving Kwesi another draft there because his drafts have been absolutely horrific. But this is all that matters because you look at the Lions and the Packers. Lions, they got a great head coach. They got a great quarterback. They have probably the second best GM in the whole NFL in Brad Holmes next to Howie Roseman. And then the Packers, great head coach. Their quarterback looked freaking awesome yesterday, and they are a very good drafting team as well. So if you're competing with those two teams in the division, you got to make sure you're good in all 3 of these spots because if you're not, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Vikings. So hopefully the rest of the season we'll get those answers on those questions. But I do appreciate all of you guys for watching today's show. And if you guys made it to the end, just hit me with those SKOLs down below in the comment section. We'll have another video coming out later today. We'll see you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.